Welcome back to Morning Live. The Northwest Province has recently been the scene of violent protests against Premier Supra Mahupamelo. Foreign nationals bore much of the brunt as over 800 shops were looted and vandalized during these protests. The situation prompted President Cyril Ramaphosa to cut short his trip to the United Kingdom to address the impasse. But it looks like the matter is far from over, as the report suggests that there is informal lobbying for Mahumapelo's position, with 5 names already doing the rounds as possible successors. Well, from our Pretoria studios, we're joined by political analyst, Professor Lesiba Tefo. Prof, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Good morning to you and the listeners.
Great. Prof, there's so much that's happening and so much that has been happening in Northwest over the past couple of weeks. But let's go back to the protests as it were. People calling for the removal of Premier Supra Mahupamelo. The Premier has been adamant that this is politically motivated. Your thoughts around that, please?
Let me preface my response by stating this. On the eve of the removal of Robert Mugabe, about 1 million people marched in the streets of Harare. Hardly any of them stole an orange or broke a window pane. Lessons to learn from that for the people of South Africa. We can protest without being violent. We can protest and achieve our objectives without being disagreeable and repugnant to ourselves and to those that are the victims of our inglorious actions. Now, coming back to the question itself, Mahumapelo, right? Look, the issues raised precede Mahumapelo's tenure. That's what I want to credit him for. It precedes Mahumapelo's tenure, number one. Number two, he must take responsibility to the extent that under him matters got worse. I'm fairly familiar with that space. I know what the infrastructure looked like, and indeed it still looks like today. It's far worse off than it was pre-1994. The least they could have done would have been to sustain that infrastructure, but they didn't do that. If anything, many of them, there are 2 levels at which I talk about Mahumapelo. As a political administrator, and indeed at a personal level. As a political administrator, he presided over the looting, mismanagement, and undermanagement of state resources in that province. At a personal level, he's found and is said and alleged to have had his fingers in the till. There is sufficient evidence for that. So at various levels, he must take full responsibility for what is transpiring there. And it's indeed very regrettable.
Professor, President Ramaphosa then cut short his trip to the UK to attempt to intervene. Many people, I suppose, were expecting to hear or see more from the president. People were left furious, saying that it seems like our president is not taking decisive action. I mean, given the fact that people thought that the president would come in and immediately remove Premier Supra Mahupamelo, what are your reflections on that?
I wish a clip could be played where I advised against overplaying that line that says the president has come back precisely because he wants to deal with the Mahumapelo issue or Northwest issue.
Surely he gave that impression, though, Professor.
That because come again.
Surely he may have given that impression.
He has given that unfortunate impression, and I said, and I'm repeating myself here, that it is going to come back to haunt him. For tomorrow, when there are flare-ups across the country, people would expect him to run around. He won't have that type of time. That's number one. Number two, you may not expect him to leave the country to go to a meeting anywhere under the sun when there are fires burning in the country. For one would say, you could leave London, right, to come home to quell the fires. Now you leave the fires burning to go elsewhere. I cautioned against that. I'm still cautioning against that. He came back.
How would you suggest, excuse me, Professor, that the president would have handled the matter?
Handling the matter is a different one. But the rationale for his return, that's what I take issue with. Handling the matter, all I can say and hope for is that the men should be engaged. That's number one. All the stakeholders, I have no problem with them being engaged. Whatever solution, the most prudent one for me would be get a neutral person. In that part of the world, there are men and women of integrity. It should be none of the protagonists from either faction be appointed to be a leader of the interim or the task team. We saw this thing of putting up task teams of the same contestant and protagonists in KwaZulu-Natal. It doesn't work. You can go to the national parliament, you can get somebody. There are credible retired political actors in Northwest who can be brought into the fore to come and take the reins and move forward. That is my strong recommendation.
Prof, there were also contradicting reports around, the Communications Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, announcing that the Provincial Health and Treasury departments have been placed under administration, and the provincial government disputing this. How do we read between the lines?
Too many centers of power, and that this speaks to the contestation of where the authority and the power lies, because I don't want to imagine that Madam Mokonyane would have made such a public pronouncement if she didn't have the authority and the basis to do so. But those who are contradicting her possibly is because of the political contestation within the ruling party itself, and indeed they are trying to say, without us, much cannot be achieved. If it is to be done, there has to be a middle position, a golden mean of sort. They must agree and consent to whatever proposal is being made.
Is the ANC handling this matter as it should? The NWC and the ANC has been deployed to the province. There's also, the ministerial task team, and I heard your opinion on that. Do you believe that anything solid will come out of having this ministerial task team, particularly in the Northwest? Can they do anything different than what we saw in KZN? Something will come. Something will come out, but the sooner the better. Remember, pre-Nasrec, some of us said, you need to engage in a corrective program that can at least engender some confidence in an organization that is losing support. That's number one. Number two, then there is also the view that says, if indeed anybody who's put there is going to perpetuate the fractions and the factions within the party, it is not helpful. But the sooner they deal with the matter decisively, definitively, the better for them, because time is running out. The elections are well and nigh. And I know that when they spoke about the new dawn, it was about preparing also for the elections, while at the same time giving the people of the Republic of South Africa some hope. Are they on the course of corrective action? Are they on the course of unifying the organizations? Surely they look more fragmented than they were pre-Nasrec. Professor, thank you very much for your time and your insights this morning. That is Professor Lesiba Tefo, political analyst from UNISA, talking to us about the developments in the Northwest Province. Time for us to take a quick break. To stay with us.